Okay, here we are under the car, starting with one of my favorite activities, taking stuff apart. I'm going to take this 3/4 nut off first, the plunger, I can't remember what the parts are, underneath there, and the solenoid is under here. I've got electric. When the switch is on, I'm in 3rd or 4th gear, I've got electric going to it. So I'm suspicious now if it's the solenoid. Of course, I had it all apart when I was out of the car, and would have been a lot easier to check it then. Didn't. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Sure looks clean, huh? Take out this. All right, here's the solenoid cover off. And now I just have to get the solenoid out. I did disconnect the wire. Oh, there it is, right at the camera. All right, so here we have our parts to the overdrive that I took out. There's the solenoid. That was fine, tested it by hooking it to 12 volts. It also read good on the meter. In fact, let me show you that quick. Okay, so what you want to do is set your own meter to resistance, 200 I did. See here I've got the positive side hooked to the positive wire that goes to your solenoid. And you can just put your negative, your ground, on this solder blob here in the solenoid, and you should get between 15 to 25 ohms, I read, of resistance. And it means that your solenoid's okay. So we're looking good here at 21-ish. So what did we find with the other overdrive parts? Well, here we have the low pressure valve. Everything looked fine there. I got to, this is the oil pump, got to this, and it was completely jammed up in. And let me pull it apart quick to show you here. I'll take the spring out, and it was jammed together and would not release, and therefore the overdrive wouldn't work. It's mentioned a little bit in the John Twist video on a couple of them on repair there. So this, even when I got it on the bench here, just could not get this oil pump to move. It was completely jammed on itself in here. So I found out it was actually this top part that was kind of holding it up. So I just used 320 and then 600 grit sandpaper on a round file and just got in there and just loosened it up. So now we have nice movement here between the two, pieces of metal, and it shouldn't jam up at all anymore. It took me a while to get that right. So the spring will go back on, and then our oil pump should be working good. So I'm going to start to put everything back in and back together here. Okay, sure enough, flat side towards the back with the oil pump. And just have to get it pushed up in there and start this with that top hat and ball on it. And now I just have to get this one home. It's that weird when you kind of screw it in with needle nose pliers on here. And I know this is just a cruddy view underneath. And so we'll put needle nose pliers in these two holes and kind of twist it home. And no reason to over tighten it. So that's the oil pump that runs on a concentric cam in there essentially and goes up and down. That baby was jammed. Going back in, goes this way with the flat side towards the back of the car, I think. Just give me a second, I'm gonna take a look here to be able to get this to go in. Okay, that's in. Next thing, the oil pickup. This actually picks up the oil from the bottom of essentially the pan that's in here. So I will get that in. It just screws in and then use a screwdriver to tighten it home. Okay, next up is this pressure relief valve focus here. It's either high or low, but man, it's got a tight spring under that mesh. Maybe it's high pressure. This goes in, and then that big bolt that you see kind of hanging out of the bottom. So I'm going to do that with 2 hands. Pulled up to the house about a quarter. Yo, home, smell you later. Well, here we are again. Got the cover off, and you can see this nut off. I realized this needs to sit flush. This is the oil pump, because I ruined the filter. I filled it, and there was oil coming out over here. Realized that this was not a good seal. So I have a new filter coming, and I saw recommended some Toyota filter gasket or gasket goop sealant RTV type. So I'm going to try that. So let me get this flush. We'll see how difficult that is. I want to make sure the pump isn't rotating. Flat side toward the back of the car up in here. All right, major victory here. I got it flat, and as able, you can actually rotate the drive shaft with it in neutral and see the pump up in there going up and down a little bit. And I finally got it in without binding. We're going to be in really good shape. That's why I had that leak too, because this wasn't below the surface, and it was, the oil pump was bound up in there again. So now I'm just waiting on my new filter, and we'll get it back together. I actually got a new mesh filter for this valve too, so I'm going to take that out because the mesh was just a little bit jacked up. So while it's apart, I'm going to do it. Got a good seal here, and we got a new gasket for the solenoid as well, and we'll get that on. So I'm kind of cleaning everything up again, just getting it oil free here. There's that oil again. So now I've got the cover back on, currently loosely, because I did end up putting a little RTV around the gasket, just a very thin on both sides, and a little RTV on this guy here, and they're both just in very loose. And then I'll torque it to spec in a couple hours maybe. And I have to look that up. It's like 4 foot-pounds, something like that. I'm going to use my inch pounds, and we'll do that. There it goes. Drops down. Now let me pop it out. There you go. Comes right out.